Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. I'm here today in Rockaway Beach, a place that was very, very important to me growing up, especially when it comes to my Irish side of my family. My grandmother and grandfather came to this country in 1915 and 1916, and to escape the summer heat of the Bronx, they came down here, as many Irish immigrants did, to Rockaway Beach, and it really became their second home. It's a beautiful place today, and it's really coming back, especially after Superstorm Sandy. A lot of money has been invested down here. But really for St. Patrick's Day, I think for us, especially as Americans, to think about what is the immigrant story? What is our history? What is our tradition, especially as Catholics and Catholics in the United States? No matter whether your family comes from the Caribbean, from Africa, from Germany, from Poland, from Italy, from Ireland, no matter where you come from, we want to think about how people made a sacrifice for us. And today, we're introducing the theme of love. And the theme of love is about sacrifice and what we're willing to give to others. When we look at our parents and everything that they've done for us and the sacrifices they've made, even paying a tuition to come to a school like Kellenberg, it is important to think about how do we give to others. A lot of people assume that love is an emotion. It is anything but an emotion. We are called, as Jesus does, to love others, especially in times of need, especially times in which they are unlovable. And that really becomes a very, very important part of understanding who we are as humans. We are not human unless we love. We see, like, the nature of the bird is to fly. Maybe the nature of the Labrador Retriever is to fetch the stick. But humans are not humans unless we love. And for us today, especially on St. Patrick's Day, to contemplate the people who made sacrifices for you, we're going to ask you to read this article by Ann Landers. It was part of her column. Is it love or is it infatuation? And to think about, sometimes we have this notion of romantic love, and we have this idea that it's always going to be this great rush. It's always going to be about feeling. And in essence, it is about loving someone in all circumstances and doing whatever we can for these people. The Marianists also have a little bit of tradition here in Rockaway Beach. If you can see in back of me, there's St. John's home, the home that was run by the Marianists here in Rockaway Beach for young boys, especially for those where the families had fallen apart and they were experiencing family difficulties. But these really were the cornerstone of Rockaway, especially in the 1950s, 1960s, and even 1970s. For me, as a person, probably up until the age of 15, I spent every summer down here at Rockaway Beach, and many nights on the boardwalk we would come down and just be with people. And one of the things that I remember, my grandfather was a New York City fireman, and for him, he would come and see his friends, not only from Ireland every night, but the former and retired firefighters. They would come down and they would just tell their story. And I think that's very, very important, to think about faith, to tell our story. Every Sunday when we go to Mass, we hear the gospel, and it's about the story of Jesus Christ. And for us as families, we constantly tell our story. I remember he was a chief in the fire department, and he was very well respected. And you would just see how he was seen every time he walked up onto the boardwalk, and how people greeted him. And they had a tremendous amount of respect for him, not only as a firefighter, but as someone who just became a good friend. And they reminisced about Ireland, they reminisced about the old days. And for us really on this St. Patrick's Day, to think about, where has love taken me? How has love brought me to this place? And I think that really becomes important over the next week or so when we're talking about this topic of love, to look at your family in a new way, to think about, how do I make sacrifices for the people in my life, especially during this season of Lent? To think about, do I do enough? Do I love those around me? Am I constantly making sacrifices? The problem in the English language is that there is only one word for love, and we say, I love ice cream, I love steak, I love that movie. But ultimately, when we look at the importance of love, it's what am I willing to do for others, even when I don't want to do something, even when I am weary. Part of maybe some of the greatest stories in the Gospels, you will see Jesus challenge, especially Peter, James, and John, in the moments when they are so weary, in the Garden of Gethsemane, when they don't want to go on, and he just asks them, I need your love and I need your attention. That's going to be a big part of our story. So when we look at the theme of love, and as we go through these articles, the Ann Landers article, Love is Not a Feeling, Stirring the Oatmeal, we're going to realize that love must take place even when we don't want to love. Love is as love does. So we hope that this will serve as a little introduction to this important theme that is the essence of human living. And very, very importantly, especially on this St. Patrick's Day, to think about your family, to think about your story and how people have come to the United States and how people have shared their story with us, how people have made sacrifices for us, and how people were willing to take great chances even though they had no idea what was coming next. Happy St. Patrick's Day from Rockaway Beach.